What's something that's illegal now, but used to be perfectly normal?
Used to buy dynamite at the hardware store. My dad and I used it to remove stumps.
Sending your kids to the store to buy cigarettes.
Cigarette vending machines. No age restriction, just drop couple of quarters in and pull the handle.
Smoking at school. My HS had a smoking area for students.
Dosing your baby with OTC laudanum so you can go out dancing all night. Or so my grandmother said. A couple of flappers overdosed their babies and they stopped selling laudanum in the drugstore.
Lead paint and asbestos in housing.
Our high school had a rifle club in school. Kids kept their .22s in their lockers. Edit, not saying rifle teams are now illegal. Bringing guns into school and storing them in a locker is what is now verboten. And I'm not from a particularly rural area.
Public executions. Driving around without a seatbelt. Hell, when I was a kid, it was common to find rear seatbelts weren't even fitted. My dad bought them separately and fitted them himself a couple of times.
Smoking indoors. Drinking and driving.
Riding around town in the back of a pickup truck. I'm someone who won't take my car out of park if all the seatbelts aren't fastened, but as a kid I would jump at the chance to ride in the truck bed.
I can remember when it was perfectly normal for someone to leave their kids in the car, doors unlocked and windows open, while they went inside a business. No one gave it a second thought.
Not wearing a seatbelt. People used to make fun of you for wearing one.
Driving with no seat belt. Driving while talking on the phone. Driving with no car seat for a child.
Does anyone remember the 90s when mooning was a thing? I remember my mom driving down the highway and my brother and I laughing hysterically at some random guy who was mooning us out his window. I don't know if it's illegal now, but I think mooning would be perceived a lot differently these days. Lawn darts.
Child labor. And the arguments to maintain it ranged from nobody is forcing them to, but if we ban it our industries will no longer be competitive, and when they work, they are not on the streets. I think this is an example that we must always keep in mind because many of these arguments from the so-called choice to competitiveness through to the false alternative are still regularly used today to justify practices that are morally reprehensible. Taking guns to school. It used to be common for students to have a gun rack in their truck.
Dueling. So much pollution. People used to change the oil on their car and dump it down storm drains or pour into a hole in the ground. Old bottles of pills got thrown in the trash. So much aerosol hairspray. Commercially, we dumped so much chemical waste into rivers they started catching on fire, started burning through the ozone layer. Superfund sites, list goes on and on. Coke and Coke.